Hey everybody, this is Ray Flook. Welcome to Bleeding Cool's weekly American Horror Story Cult recap. I'm doing video recaps every week of every episode for this season. It's doing it kind of in conjunction with the live blog that we do every Tuesday night also. So if you're watching this on Tuesday, make sure you join us tonight, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for the next episode. That will be episode 2, Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. But before we get to that, let's start talking about the season premiere. American Horror Story Cult, which we've seen tons of build-up and tons of promotion and everything else for it. Ryan Murphy's been a one-man promotional machine for the series, making sure that we knew what it was going to be, what it wasn't going to be, and giving us a sense of what the cast was going to be doing this season. Evan Peters especially, off to a great start. I'm looking forward to a number of the roles that he's going to be playing this season. But let me start off with the first episode, which, again, Ryan Murphy made no bones about it. It begins on election night. I think it did a really good job representing what a lot of people felt that night, whichever side of the political spectrum you landed on. I think, again, it's a good catalyst. It's a good sense. But, again, you get the feeling that it's not going to be just about Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. One of the things actually I found very interesting about this episode is you get the sense that Ryan Murphy's got a lot of political targets he'd like to go after. As much as he definitely took his shots at Trump supporters, he took some shots at Hillary Clinton. He definitely went after the quote-unquote third-party people who were interested in Jill Stein and Gary Johnson, and even some of the Bernie Sanders supporters. So I'm interested to see where he goes along with this, or does the political stuff start to trail off as we get into more of the horror and phobia stuff, which we got a lot. I will say this first episode, we got a lot of backstory. We got a lot of introduction for it being only the first episode. I'm very curious to see how much more we get going into the second. But again, this is usually the part we're going to get into spare parts, so I'm going to be using my handy-dandy list just to make sure that I'm not missing anything. So here we go with our recap. Beginning overall, again, on the election night itself, I thought it was very interesting. You had two very different perspectives. You had Kai Evan Peters, who's just, as he puts it, the revolution has begun, and he sees this as super opportunity. Whereas Allie, Sarah Paulson, sees this as just like the ultimate nightmare. We learned going along, she's had her own issues and own struggles to begin with on a personal level. This tying into the idea of who is in the White House and all the stress and everything and the ramifications that come from it. Allie does not see this as an opportunity. She sees this as like the dawn of the apocalypse. So, again, very interesting to see how their dynamics are going to start coming together. I got a couple theories I'm going to talk about as we go roll along here. She makes reference to Nate Silver in the Washington Post. I, on a personal note, have to agree. I mean, they were painfully wrong. So wrong. And I think it kind of brings up the whole idea of how we do polling in the old school way of doing it. But I'm not going to go off on a 10-cent political tirade. We see Kai and Winter. First of all, that was very interesting, the use of cheese puffs to get the orange dye for the Donald Trump orange skin look. I kind of like that. The fact of the pinky promise, you just know they've got something planned and going on, and we'll see the beginnings of it before the end of this hour. From a commercial break, we come back, and we get to see Twisty the Clown, and how is this possible? Twisty the Clown, it's 2017. There's not going to be any supernatural elements or anything like that. Ryan Murphy promised. So, I mean, we've got Twisty the Clown. He's going after this couple. He kills the guy. He ends up killing the girl on the bus. And then all of a sudden we realize, oh, no. It's just one of the comic books that the little boy Oz is reading come to life. Okay. All right. I'm curious to, again, I'm wondering if the whole no supernatural is going to come into play or not. Ryan Murphy swears it will. Supernatural will not, that it's very grounded, but I thought that was a nice tease. I thought that was a nice way of us getting Twisty and also getting an introduction to a little bit more into the boy, Oz himself. And again, a nod, by the way, to John Carroll Lynch, who I don't think I've given enough credit for in the past, who just does an amazing performance. That's, again, like all good actors who play quiet serial killers, it's all in the physical performance, and he just does an amazing job. Just an incredible job. Ivy, Allie, and Oz. This is when Allie realizes that Oz is reading the Twisty the Clown comic. That's when we start. That's when I had always heard about clown phobia. But let me make sure I get this right. Coulrophobia, the fear of clowns. I did not know about that, and now again, see, the more you know. Learning is everything. Yeah, something like that. Like G.I. Joe, Joe. Anyway. Um, Allie and Ivy are worried about Oz. More specifically, they're worried about that he's developing the fears and traits that Allie's having. A real concern, again, we'll see as this rolls along. We then cut to Kai at the town council meeting, and Kai has two very interesting quotes. Above all, humans love fear, and every day we choose fear over freedom. Basically, Kai making the argument to the town council that the best way to get people to follow what you're going to do and to be able to make the laws that you want to make is essentially make people afraid. Essentially, give people that big, fearsome third party thing that you can point at and go, that's your problem. So vote for me, listen to me, do what I want to say, and I'll make everything great for you. That's basically Kai's mentality. Essentially, we start seeing the build up towards the idea of the cult mentality, but I think it's going to get a lot bigger than that than we realize. Um, Kai gets shut down by the town council. The town councilman who shuts Kai down is also the gentleman in the beginning that we see on election night who gets into a nasty little argument with his wife over voting and who they voted for. We see the councilman just kind of just shuts Kai down. But Kai, in typical fashion, walks away with the best line. There is nothing more dangerous in the world than a humiliated man. We've seen from history that's proven to be true. Men like him, again, when shot down, generally come back and come back 10 times more dangerous. And we'll, again, see as this rolls along. We then see Allie at Dr. Vincent. She's there to talk to him about the fact she's having problems dealing with the Trump election. She talks about how she had such a hard time with Bush and then how things got better with Obama. She also is talking about her fear of clowns. And we also, at this point, found out that she has an issue with holes. So now we're looking at Trump, clowns, and holes. I'll leave it all up to you to kind of put together your 5-second joke on that one. Feel free to comment below. But Dr. Vincent has a very interesting line. I want you to check out of the world and into your life. Essentially saying to her, like, look, take a breather. You don't have to be connected. Sometimes you can be connected too much. Know more about what's going on in your own home. Know about what's going on in your own backyard. Sage advice that I would take more profoundly if I wasn't paranoid of everybody in this series. So even him I have to take with a grain of salt. I mean, I've already at a point right now where I'm questioning Ivy and some of the looks and somebody online found something that looked like a shirt that Ivy was wearing was very similar to what one of the clowns was wearing. So I thought that was an interesting. I want to try and look that up and see if I can find that for later. But that's, again, something to keep in mind. I'm paranoid about everybody who's essentially not Allie or the little boy. And of course, they might be the ones having the most hallucinations. So, well, there you go. We get to this in scene with Allie at the supermarket. First off, excellent casting choice, having Chad Bono have him play the Make America Great Again Trump supporter at the counter. Just on so many levels, great decision on Ryan Murphy's part. Allie has a total freak out at the supermarket. She's seeing clowns have sex in the fruit section. Really just doing unspeakable things. That poor watermelon that ended up on the ground. By the way, watermelon didn't do anything to anybody. And just she sees a three-faced clown that starts coming at her to kill her, and she starts freaking out and she runs, and she gets into her car, and she's calling Ivy, and she freaks out because she sees the clown in her car and runs the car directly into the lamppost, airbag, everything like that. We come back from commercial break. What we find is that Allie's made it back home. Ivy's taking care of her. The police are looking into it, but really haven't seen anything. Their relationship is just on the rocks. They say straight out they haven't been intimate. They haven't had sex in Ivy, I think it's over a month's time. So we see that what's going on with Allie is really starting to have its effect, and Allie promises that she's going to start doing a better job, and she's going to take care of things. And it's one of those things at the moment she says it, you're thinking to yourself, oh, please don't make promises you're not going to be able to keep, because honestly, you're probably about 2 scenes away from having a freak out, which I think might actually have been the case. What we realize at this point is that Allie and Ivy are interested in getting a nanny for Oz. So they begin the interview process, and lo and behold, it turns out to be Winter. And we see in dual sequencing, we see a conversation between Kai and Winter, where Kai is basically getting Winter to open up about a number of her fears and concerns and desires. And meanwhile, we see how that's contrasting with the answers that she's giving to Ivy and to Allie. Even just the basic thing about being able to take care of a child, which she tells Kai is just something she has no interest in whatsoever. But to serve his purpose and for where this is going, she's willing to go along with it. A really good back and forth dynamic. I think it gives us more of a sense of Kai's character and Winter also, and it gets us wondering what Kai's connection is so directly with that family. We get to a scene now where Kai, I'm assuming it's early morning or late night, is in a back alley where he confronts a number of illegal immigrants by a truck, starts singing obnoxiously to them, urinates into a condom, and then throws it at them, basically urging them to come over and kick the living crap out of him so he can catch it on tape. We start to see now. Kai is starting to build power on a local level. This video is going to go viral. He's going to use this video to start parlaying a movement, and we see it in the previews for the upcoming season. This is where the seeds of it all begins. This is where, again, he's using this fear to cultivate attraction and to cultivate growth. And we see the beginnings of it, in even in the previews that we see moving forward. But something interesting along those lines I'll get to in a minute, because I think there might be a lot more going on than the previews have showed us. We also get a brief scene between Winter and Oz, where Winter is interrogating Oz essentially in a friendly way possible to find a little more information about his parents, who does he belong to biologically, any information about his father, which we get a little bit of, but there's a little hesitation before we then cut to Allie, who is at the restaurant, the Butchery on Main, which again just has that scary sound to it also. But she sees her spinach souffle with truffle oil turn into something that is bleeding and full of holes. Ivy's just about had it. It's at that point where Allie finally admits to Ivy that she hasn't been taking her medication and promises that she will. But again, with the way meds work, if you haven't taken it, it's not like you can just take them and they pop back in again. There's some time and other things that come into play. So, yeah, again, we're left wondering how much of what we're seeing is real and how much of it isn't real and playing off in Allie's head. Winter exposes Oz to some horrible scenes on the internet. She claims to vaccinate his brain as a way of getting him to used to things, like seeing horrible sights and seeing a dead body. A very, I guess, 2017 version of Stand By Me. Instead of having to go to see a body, you can just literally punch it in and get it. But she's vaccinating Oz's brain for this. But in the process of this going on, Oz looks out the window and Oz sees an ice cream truck park across the street. And out of that come a number of clowns. But most importantly, one of the clowns that comes out is the three-faced clown. He's seeing the same three-faced clown that Allie saw back yonder time in the supermarket. So are we talking about something that is a shared hallucination? Are we talking about something that's a lot more at play? Oz, Winter, and the clowns. So what we find out is that essentially Allie and Ivy make it back home, and they see that the entire neighborhood is cordoned off with police tape, and there's police and ambulance and everything there. Allie and Ivy start looking for Oz. Allie's very much freaking out, understandably so. She sees Oz. Oz relates to them the story of what happened, and from Oz's standpoint, he was able to sneak around the side of the house, prop up to the window, and he saw the clowns murdering the councilman and his wife, just wholesale slaughtering them in their home. And when they turned to see him, Oz stumbled and ran. And that's something that he conveys to his parents. Where it gets interesting is that Winter then claims to them that he's making it all up, that none of that happened, building into this fear that they have that Oz is going to start acting like Allie. And it doesn't help when we see the first introduction to Detective Samuels, when Detective Samuels says to them that it was a murder-suicide. So again, we're left scratching our heads. Could this be just a shared hallucination? Has Allie found a way to project her hallucinations onto Oz, or is there a lot more going on here? What I find interesting is I think there may be, and maybe I'm wrong, I think 80% of the time, on these really quote-unquote profound theories. But my thought is that maybe since it's cult, I'm thinking there might be more than one cult at play. That maybe what Kai is putting together isn't necessarily the same thing that the clowns are involved with. And the reason why I say that is that there are a couple scenes when you look at the season-long trailer that kind of calls certain things into question, some torture scenes, and I need to go back and look. But I think it'd be very interesting if it turns out we were kind of getting played a little bit and that Kai wasn't associated with the clowns, and the clowns are going to somehow come into play at some point. Be very, very interesting in that regard. We're going to the end. We say after everything's going on, Allie's going into bed. She's going to get some rest. She can't sleep. And why can't she sleep? Because she is either seeing or imagining the three-faced clown in her bed. And in typical fashion, in typical melodramatic horror fashion, this is the time when they decide to cut to commercial and we get the scenes for not next week, but for the season-long trailer. So, unfortunately. But that's where we're at with regards to our recap of episode 1, election night. Like I said, we're going to be back Tuesday night, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for episode 2. Don't be afraid of the dark. So for American Horror Story Cult. So this is Ray Flook for Bleeding Cool. Again, join us tonight for Cult Following, and I hope to see you guys tonight. Take care.